Good evening, everyone. Tonight, as I was asked to do this on Reddit, we will go through the latest ex-saint, Ophiuchus Odysseus. So he's a very strong support saint. So what we will do today, we will go through the skills explanation, the team composition, the skills priority, the Cosmo setup, the alternatives, and finally we will answer whether you should pull him or not. So today is still Monday, so there is still one more week to pull him, but is it really a good investment? So let's start with him and let's have a look at his skills. So first of all, he's an ex-saint, which means that he uses green books. So he costs twice as much as other ex-saints. So first of all, let's look at the basic attack, which is quite interestingly is an AoE attack. So the level 1 is 40% cosmic damage to all enemies. However, for every secret currently active, he does an additional 10% cosmic damage. So in itself, this is a skill that probably will be left at 1. What is a significant negative point of this skill is that it is an AoE attack. So given the current meta is dominated by Thanatos, doing an AoE attack with very little damage is not ideal. At the same time though, we need to remember that when you have a very fast Odysseus, this AoE attack can also be useful to remove the healing from Underworld Shun. So I don't particularly like the fact that it's an AoE attack, but it can have its advantages against Underworld Shun. So the second skill is the most complex skill of Odysseus. It is a skill that reminds of Poseidon, in the sense that you need to unlock different levels to unlock different skills. So at level 1, the two available options are treatment and shock. So treatment is effectively an AoE heal for 400% of Odysseus cosmic attack to the entire team. So this is really quite powerful, and it is a very good healing skill, so it's able to very often put back to 100% the entire team. So the second ability that is usable at level 1 is shock. So this is triggered if the attacker uses energy. So if the attacker used energy to attack, this skill does 800% cosmic damage to the attacker. So when we think about Odysseus, this can be powerful if we place Odysseus, for example, before Gemini Kanon, or before a Thanatos who is going to do the 2 energy attack, or against another strong attacker. Now, of course, it is quite tricky to know which teams you're going to face and whether they will be using Kanon or Thanatos, and what speeds will be available there. So very interesting skill, but again, we need to remember that each secret is only triggered once. So when Odysseus activates one of these secrets, the opponent does not see which one has been activated. So the secrets effectively work a bit like Saori's mark. So you do not know on which team member Saori has placed the reincarnation mark. In Odysseus' case, you do not know which secret has been activated. So, of course, if you check the skill level of the enemy Odysseus and you see that he's only at level 1 of 5, then you know it's either treatment or shock. But if the enemy Odysseus has the skill leveled to level 5, then it can become not that easy to guess what he has activated. Because, for example, if your team is playing DC Shiryu or Repair Cloth Mu, the enemy could easily have activated the Shatter ability. But let's have a look at the other one. So we were at level 1, so treatment and shock. So if we level the skill to level 2, so 1 green book or 2 blue books, then we can also activate this reflect ability, or also named ricochet here. So this works differently from shock in the sense that it is triggered the next time an ally takes damage. So this is not necessarily an attack, it is not necessarily an attack that costs energy, and whenever this damage happens, 200% of the damage, but still up to a maximum of 800% of Odysseus' cosmic attack, will be reflected to the entire enemy team. So in this case we see no longer this much significant 800% cosmic damage, so it's only 240%, but it's not to the single attacker, but to the entire team. Now, this could look like a great ability to use. However, the problem is that it is triggered by any damage. So, for example, Hypno's constant damage from the Nightmare Mark will trigger it, or for example, even a basic attack will trigger this ability. So it can result in very low damage being returned. So it is interesting, but it's not great. So that was for level 2. Level 3 activates additionally Venom. So level 3, we're talking about 2 additional green books or 4 additional blue books. So Venom is triggered when an enemy kills an ally. So if that happens, the target goes into deep sleep for 2 action rounds. So deep sleep is the one that causes the sleeper not to awaken if he takes damage. However, he can be purified. So for example, Divine Cloth Shun can remove this venom. If you know that the enemy is not going to be use this Divine Cloth Shun, or for example Saori, it can be quite useful to use venom, for example on the enemy Gemini Kanon, or for example on Thanatos, even if Thanatos can break the CC, or for example on Aphrodite, like who usually are the key attackers. So decent ability, but probably you will not be using it much. So at level 4, so with the 3 additional green books or 6 additional blue books, Shatter. So this is the ability that nullifies the shields. And when we say shields, we're talking about Crystal Ball from Mu, Crystal Robe from Shion, and the Ultimate Dragon Shield from Shiryu. So nullified means that the shield is placed but is immediately cancelled, so it's not destroyed, so it will not count as damage taken for Crystal Wall, it will just be immediately cancelled. To be clear, nullifying Divine Cloth Shiryu's Dragon Shield, it means that this ability only cancels the extra shield that Shiryu puts on himself. So his large shield put on himself. So this ability does not cancel the protection that Shiryu places on the two allies. So it only removes the ultra large shield that Shiryu places on himself. So again, is very useful to use against Mu or Shiryu, but yeah, is not game breaking, let's say. Finally, at level 5, so assuming 4 additional green books and or effectively 8 additional blue books, we have the revival skill. So this is an ability that resurrects an ally that has died in the battle and restores a very large amount of HP, so it will often be the entire HP bar. Now, what is interesting of this ability is that if you're using June, for example, so the entire team is sharing damage, and more than one character dies at the same time, this ability will resurrect all the allies who died at the same time. So it's a very significant ability. It can only be triggered once per battle. So that's the limit of this ability. So with 10 green books or 20 blue books, this second ability, Path of Awakening, can get to level 5, which is probably the level needed for people playing at high level. So the third ability is likely the most useful, even more than the second one, in the sense that he is fundamental for Odysseus' support role. And this is an ability that realistically has to go to level 5. So it will be another 20 blue books or 10 green books to make the most out of this ability. So it has 2 components. So one component is that when an ally dies, Odysseus restores a significant amount of HP to the team, so he's 100% at level 1 and he's 300% at level 5. But the most important effect of this ability is that at level 5, this ability increases lifesteal for the entire team by 2%, and physical and cosmic damage resistance by 15%. So this is an extreme advantage to have for the entire team. So additionally, when for each secret that is active on the field, at level 5, this ability provides additional 1% lifesteal and additional 5% physical and cosmic damage resistance. So if you have, for example, 2 active secrets, which is quite frequent to see, considering that often you will use the reincarnation skill and then another one, so you will have 2 active ones. So if you have 2 active secrets, Odysseus is then providing 4% lifesteal and 25% physical and cosmic damage resistance to the entire team. So it is an extremely strong ability and likely Odysseus' strongest ability, and significantly recommended to take to level 5. So finally, the last ability is similar to Phoenix Iki. So when Odysseus' HP reaches 0, he enters this resurgence state, and he effectively recovers a certain number of HP. So at level 1 is 40%, at level 5 is 100%, and he also gains a significant damage reduction. So at level 1 is 30%, at level 5 is 80%. Now, if Odysseus survives until the next round, he then returns to his normal state, and he gains 1 extra turn. So he can then cast 2 secrets in that turn. So this is a very strong ability, likely to make the most of the game. It has to be taken to level 5, but even at lower levels it is acceptable. Probably level 3 is already quite a good level to have this ability at. So having said that, we can then move to team composition, and Odysseus, as we said, is effectively a support saint, so he's never going to take the place of, for example, Thanatos or Gemini Kanon or the main DPS of the team. So he's a support. He's, for example, a decent replacement for Hypnos because of the healing he provides. He is a decent replacement for Underworld Shun. So he definitely can fit in many compositions, but he's not your main DPS. So it is quite frequent to see him, for example, with Thanatos. It is frequent to see him with the likes of Hypnos, June, and Underworld Shun, and you can imagine how strong defensively is a team with these 4 characters: Ophiuchus, Hypnos, June, and Underworld Shun. So adding 2 DPS to this team, or for example 1 strong DPS such as Thanatos, and 1 control such as Minos or Geki, you can immediately see how strong this team is, because he has 3 main healers, so Hypnos, Ophiuchus, and Underworld Shun, with June, and effectively it's very hard to take down, in particular if Ophiuchus abilities are at the max level. So an Ophiuchus which is 1, 5, 5, 3 at least. So at this point, I guess the key question is, should I pull Ophiuchus or not? Well, it really depends at the level you play PvP at. So for Galactic Duel is very good to have, but again, if you're playing at, let's say, Immortal and below, it's probably not that mandatory. So if you already have Hypnos, Thanatos, Kanon, it is likely better to strengthen those characters before investing on Odysseus. So doing a quick calculation, Odysseus needs at the very least 40 books for the 2nd and 3rd skill to be at 5, so 1, 5, 5, 1, and that is already a much higher number of books than, for example, Hypnos needs. So Hypnos already performs very well at 1, 1, 5, 4, which is only 32 books. So a complete Odysseus will be 60 books, so 1, 5, 5. So that number of books is higher than, for example, Hypnos and Underworld Shun. So Underworld Shun will perform absolutely fantastic already at 1451, which is only 16 books. So 16 books on Underworld Shun and 32 books on Hypnos is only 48 books, so we're talking about 12 blue books less than Odysseus. And again, let's remember, if you do already have those key characters, Hypnos, Thanatos, and Gemini Kanon, you can easily ban Odysseus if you really don't want to play against him, and you will be fine. So this is true for Galactic Duel. Now, if you're playing, or if you intend to play in the Jamir qualifications, or in the Jamir top 32, then you definitely do need to pull Odysseus, because differently from Galactic Duel, for the Jamir qualification you need to be able to win with 2 teams, so you need to have 12 very strong Saints, and Odysseus almost certainly needs to be one of those 12. And then even more so for the Jamir top 32, you need to have 18 strong Saints, so Odysseus definitely needs to be in that. So again, I'm sure that if you're able to qualify for the Jamir top 32, having 60 books to invest in Odysseus is not a problem. However, if you do not have those many books, and if you're trying to not spend much in the game while still enjoying it, probably pulling Odysseus is not a great idea. It is much better to strengthen your already existing characters, for example Hypnos or Thanatos, making Thanatos, for example, 1455 is extremely significant, and for example also raising Underworld Shun and any other characters in your main team, or Gemini Kanon. So it really depends how many books available to spend you have, and probably, unless you're going for Jamir qualifications or top 32, is not a great idea to go for Odysseus, because even with characters that are already there are already probably better characters to use in the Galactic Duel, and then we need to remember that next week the repair cloth for Hades is going to be released, which is also going to use green books to level up skills. So for example, having a fully leveled Hades, so investing let's say 40 and more books on your Hades is likely going to be better than investing 40 and more books on Odysseus. So is a difficult advice to give, but probably unless you're going for Jamir qualification and finals, I do not advise to pull him. So at this point, I guess it's useful to look at the Cosmo setup, and Odysseus is a cosmic attacker. So when we think about his Cosmos, we really need to think about what we want to try and do with his second ability, so with his secrets. So if we plan, for example, to use Ricochet or Shock, we need to try and place Odysseus with a speed, for example, below Gemini Kanon, which means that we likely need to put a full set of double speed Cosmos on Odysseus. However, if we want to put him before Thanatos, is likely okay to have him with a significantly lower speed than that required to go against Kanon. So it really depends. Now, in terms of the Cosmos used for Odysseus, so for Red Cosmos, Eagle Eye works well, and the Cosmic Stone works well. Rosary works well for example, a more offensive type of Odysseus. So there are many different possibilities. There isn't really a wrong one. So similarly for the Yellow Cosmos, probably Spirit Print or Tenacity are ideal, because Tenacity in particular at the moment, given the meta is full of physical attackers, so Tenacity is definitely a great option at the moment. When the Hades repaired cloth will be released, Spirit Print will also be an extremely good option. Now, considering that Odysseus, the greatest weakness of Odysseus is crowd control, even knowing could be a good option for the Yellow Cosmo. So in terms of Blue Cosmos, we need to think again about what speed we want to have on him. Now, if you're really trying to place him before the enemy Gemini Kanon, most likely you will need to use New Moon. But if you're not trying to do that, either Hummingbird or even Nether can be very good options. So Nether will work well for a slower Odysseus, for example, trying to go before Mew, or go before a not particularly fast Hades. So again, New Moon for a super fast Odysseus, Hummingbird or Nether for a slightly slower one, but more resistant one. Now, for the legendary Cosmo, again, there are several possibilities. So in the Jamir final that was just played, we saw few people playing an offensive setup, so playing with a two-horned snake, so to maximize the damage from shock and ricochet. Now, if you want to focus more on the healing skill, of course you can use the laurel tree instead, but then it's really up to you. There isn't a wrong option here. So now, in terms of what to do if you play against Odysseus, as I just said a few moments ago, Odysseus' greatest weakness is crowd control. So playing with the likes of Nero Priest or Geki or Minos is a very significant counter to Odysseus. So, for example, with Minos, you could easily cast, for example, Shatter. So, if you're not playing Divine Cloth Shiryu or Mu or Shion, you could easily waste 2 manas by casting Shatter. Now, what is useful to know is that if you play the Ares God skill against Odysseus, and Odysseus dies, so he enters the resurgence state, then the skill is cancelled. So just be careful if you plan to crowd control Odysseus with the Ares God skill. You need to remember that if Odysseus dies and enters his resurgence state, then that god skill will be cancelled. Now, it's also important to know that if Odysseus dies and enters the resurgence state, all the active secrets will be removed, which means that if you know that the reincarnation ability, so the last ability, Revival, is the secret that is active. If you manage to kill Odysseus and put him into his resurgence state, that secret will be lost. So it's very useful to know. So if you see that Odysseus, for example, has certain secrets active, try to focus him to bring him down, and those active secrets will effectively be removed. So I hope this video was useful to you. If you decide to pull him, good luck, and otherwise I wish you the best with Repair Cloth Hades next week, and then the next Saints. Actually, before finishing this, let's have a look at the rebate. So as usual, what the rebate is 1/6 of the investment. So effectively, every 6 blue books invested, you have 1 book in return. Now for Odysseus, the rebate is for the second skill up to 4, the third skill also up to 4, and the fourth skill up to 4. So that means an investment of 36 blue books, which means that the rebate in full will give you 6 blue books. So if you do plan to get Odysseus and invest on him, it is recommended to take him to 144 to obtain this rebate of 6 blue books, which when you add 2 additional books, you can then make him 1544 or 1454. So definitely try to maximize the rebate. Now the final rebate is for an investment of 12 times. So in this case, taking him to 1555, so 60 blue books invested will return you 1 green book, aka 2 blue books. So again, if you do plan to have Odysseus at 1555, this is definitely the best moment to do it. But yes, having the last skill at 5 is useful, but I do not recommend getting it at the moment. So now this is really all. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do remember to subscribe. Please do remember for specific videos, for any guide or saint review that you would like to watch, and I will definitely try to make it my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.